Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that Poland's own unbeaten up-and-comer in the bantamweight division, Grzyb, will be returning to action later on this month on the 26th in what can only be described as a keep busy fight, a maintenance fight, and what is her first fight of this entire calendar year towards the end of it, as part of a Knockout Boxing Night promotion. Knockout Boxing Night, a well-to-do promotional outfit in Poland that have staged a number of fights. Grzyb has boxed under that banner already a good number of times. Sporting a professional record, an unblemished record of 10 wins with no losses, no draws, 3 knockouts.
Who's she fighting?
She'll be facing Spain's own Umpierrez. Sports professional record of 3 wins with 1 loss, no draws, no recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 4 professional bouts. Having last seen action last month on the 14th, Sarai has fought 2 times this year. Once last month, then before that in June.
That's 2 more times than Laura's fought this year.
Lara was last in action approximately a year ago opposite the ring Stevie Levy. She fought 2 times last year, no times this one. This is going to be her first fight.
Took her so long.
When last we saw Lara, she was calling out Yamileth Mercado, this division's WBC champion, for facing Ramla Ali. In Laura's opinion, Ramla was not worthy to be fighting for the WBC title. She is very critical of Yamileth Mercado's opponent choice. The gist of it is Matchroom paid to play. Matchroom paid Yami what they needed to pay Yami to secure their fighter a title shot. It didn't work out.
Ramla lost and Yami won. She kept her belt. But when you compare Ramla to the girl that Laura's about to fight...
Laura's in no position to talk. You're criticizing Yami for who she's fighting. Look at who you're fighting. An opponent with a record of 3-1?
Come on.
So here's what I think. I think that Grzyb might want a title shot with Yami Mercado in particular, but she is perhaps going about it the wrong way. I don't see her fighting in eliminators, WBC eliminators or WBA, WBO, IBF, eliminators by way of the 4 alphabet organizations to get in position to fight for a title.
Without that, the only other way you're going to get Yami or some other champion to give you a shot is to offer them a lot of money.
Now, I don't begrudge her promotional situation that she perhaps may not have as much money behind her as, say, a Ramla Ali or an Ellie Scottney, these matchroom fighters that fight at this same weight. Maybe Laura just ain't got that kind of pull, that kind of juice, but if you don't, the only other way you're gonna get a shot is to fight in eliminators.
If you don't, you're just gonna end up fighting more girls like Stevie Levy, or in this instance, Sarai Umpierrez.
Might give you a bit of work, couple of rounds, but aside from that, there's not much else to gain.
There are 3 champions at this weight.
There is Yami Mercado, the longest reigning champion. She's been champion at 122, the longest, WBC champion. There is Ellie Scottney, unified WBO, IBF champion.
And there is the newly crowned WBA champion, Nazarena Romero.
If Laura aspires to fight for a full-fledged alphabet title, but she doesn't have the money to bring somebody to Poland, she's got to fight in eliminators. It's as simple as that. She's been a professional boxer since October of 2019.
It's about 5 years.
She initially started boxing. A lot of her fights were under the Timex promotional banner. That's yet another promotional outfit over there in Poland. Then she left them, took off all of 2021, comes back under the Knockout Boxing Promotions banner. Now she fights under that banner.
Promotional issues, bit of time lost. You see what happens.
The highest level she's reached so far is European level. She did win the EBU title.
Now it's time to shoot for the world.
The amount of time that she's lost this calendar year alone, she's got to be more active. She has got to be more active in the coming year.
She's gonna beat this Spanish broad. She's gonna beat Umpierrez.
Likely by way of a points decision, because Lara's a well-schooled boxer, but she ain't big on power. She can't punch.
There's not much power there.
After that, things need to get more serious.
Has he sorted Liam Cameron a rematch? Because I know from speaking to Liam and team, that's what they want. Understandably, like you said, Ben is a name, one of the most recognisable boxing faces in this country. So despite the opportunities that might land on the plate of Liam Cameron, I think we can be dead certain that he'll want the rematch. So,
listen, first off, we need to assess when Ben can actually get back in the ring.
Do you think it could be quite a long layoff then?
I don't know, because we took a long time when his neck, you know, as I said, he's fought 5 times in the past year. Prior to that, he had quite an extensive period out and maybe one before it, and it was all to do with this. So fingers crossed, he'll be okay. We come through rehab and we can start again. There'll be changes to his team, I believe, and there'll be changes to his mindset and how it's going. And as I say, sometimes you need a reality check.
Non-committal, ladies and gentlemen, non-committal, folks. He never actually said that there would be a rematch, and I told you in my previous video. Unless Ben Shalom is at the helm of promotion, unless he has full hegemonical control, it don't happen. Least of all now that Liam has signed to Queensbury.
What was a very long-winded answer for a simple question. Will there be a rematch? Ben is telling you it's contingent upon Ben's recovery time.
Though for you to believe that, you have to actually believe that Ben Whitaker is injured, and a lot of people don't. Neck injury, ankle injury.
Give me a break.
Why did Ben Shalom say that sometimes you need a reality check? Why did Ben Shalom say that there are going to be changes to the team? What, changes to Ben Whitaker's corner over a freak accident?
Isn't that what all of this is supposed to be?
The old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If Saturday's fight ended the way that it did, what does Ben's team and Ben's corner have to do with anything? They went over the ropes, he had some nagging injuries that flared up. That's the cover story.
Why would you need to make changes to the team over that?
Unless that's not the real reason Saturday's fight looked the way that it looked and ended the way that it ended, that underneath it all, they know Ben's got to stop playing around. He's got to buckle down and take things serious. Can the showboating, the Fortnite dances?
Stop it.
Your team's been letting you get away with that stuff for a while. Now you need somebody who can whip him into shape.
There may not be a rematch.
A Ben Whitaker versus Liam Cameron rematch? That may not happen. Not unless Frank Warren is ready to send Liam over to Ben, over to Boxer,
Give him full control.
which would then defeat the purpose of having signed Liam Cameron in the first place, because the reason you signed him is you want to be involved in the rematch.
Can't be involved in nothing if there ain't one.
So we ain't got an ETA on when Ben Whitaker will return. Subject to the prognosis and recovery time of his quote-unquote injuries, which may not even be real.
Unless you want to take Ben's word for it.
I don't.
The biggest fight in the light heavyweight division outside of Bivol Batsi, the biggest fight in British boxing at the moment, particularly in that division, Buatsi against Yarde. But Anthony Yarde has to come through on Saturday night. He has to look good. We expect him to. And then it sets up an absolutely huge fight between Buatsi and Yarde, who have been synonymous with each other throughout the whole career, always compared, always debates as to who's better, always thought that they would meet. But I'm glad that it looks odds on now that they are going to meet, but also they're going to meet in their prime.
So Ben's true intentions reveal themselves. When he was asked about signing Anthony Yarde, he said he didn't sign him, he only offered him a chance to box on this weekend's show.
In order to exempt himself from the legal ramifications of poaching one of Frank Warren's fighters.
Trying to. But you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to read in between the lines that now that Anthony Yarde is boxing on a Boxer show, look at Ben, look at what he's talking about.
He's talking about the Buatsi fight.
Comes off as a bit of a weasel, bit of a snake. Maybe he has to be when he's trying to compete with both Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Two guys with a lot more time in the game.
More time in.
It's not a secret how they feel about Ben. I think Eddie Hearn threatened to punch him in the mouth. Frank Warren chewed him out over the weekend.
It's not a secret.
He does not have an amicable relationship with either Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren, and the old saying goes, all's fair in love and war. They are at war for the heart and soul of British boxing.
He's done this before.
Waited them out. Remember, he didn't want to do Fabio Wortley versus Frazier Clark until Matchroom was out of the picture. Once they were out of the picture, then he did the fight.
Same here. Didn't want to do Buatsi versus Yarde until Frank was out of the picture. Now that he seemingly is, now he wants to do the fight.
What you think of Ben Shalom and his tactics, his strategies, however underhanded they may seem, are out of necessity. He doesn't have good working relationships with either Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren. They are competitors.
So I'm not expecting them to run naked through the forest with each other going skinny dipping in Lake Windermere.
Singing folk songs. They are in competition with each other. Ben is doing what he has to do, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not. He's just a character in this story.
Maybe he is the snake.
But he's just a character in this story doing what he has to do for his survival, because he does have some stiff competition. Eddie Hearn going all in with DAZN and separating from Sky is what created the lane that Ben now occupies. And while going global was great for Matchroom, it sort of neglected the British boxing scene that built Matchroom. Ben Shalom is attempting to fill that void because it's there, as most of what he does is centered around the British audience, the British boxing fans.
I mean, he did that with Fabio Wortley versus Fraser Clark. Now he's about to do it with Joshua Buatsi and Anthony Yarde.
Now that Fabio just took his first professional loss, and there are questions as to what he's going to do moving forward. Ben Whitaker's stock, that's in the ground.
And the crapper.
So he's got to do what he can. He's doing what he can, for better or worse. The silver lining is we might actually get this fight after all these years, because it is like he said.
Anthony Yarde and Joshua Buatsi has been a conversation for as long as I can remember.
The fight.
Joshua Buatsi's the well-schooled amateur. Joshua Buatsi's the undefeated fighter. But as a pro, I feel that Anthony Yarde has done more, much more, to earn his stripes.
And I think about Joshua Buatsi's CV so far compared to Anthony Yarde's. I mean, Anthony Yarde's win over Lyndon Arthur is arguably better than anything you see on Joshua Buatsi's resume.
Who has Joshua Buatsi fought that was better than Lyndon Arthur?
Anthony Yarde's experiences in the Kovalev fight and the Artur Beterbiev fight. Those fights didn't go his way, but I think they made him a better fighter, a more seasoned fighter, and a dangerous fighter. That if he gets past Joshua Buatsi's jab and gets inside on him, he can mess him up.
He's strong.
No, he's strong. To a lesser extent, Joshua Buatsi is too. But at what level? Guy with an amateur background like his, you figured he would have hit the ground running, and he didn't. His career, sort of suffering from arrested development.
Feels like he should be further along.
At first glance, the way I see it, if Joshua Buatsi can't control this fight with his lead hand, with his jab,
He's in trouble.
Anthony Yarde will be the biggest puncher he's fought so far, and the most live animal of the live animals. I've long had questions about Joshua Buatsi's punch resistance, questions about his engine, his gas tank, why he doesn't throw more.
Why doesn't show more dog, more mongrel?
This is a big fight. This is a big fight for the British boxing scene. It's a big fight for Ben Shalom. It's a big fight for Sky.
If he can deliver it.
By being a weasel, by being a snake, by being whatever he's had to be. It's still a win for him, if he can deliver it. Elsewhere in the light heavyweight division, former champion Dmitry Bivol files appeal with WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO to enforce an immediate rematch with Artur Beterbiev. Dmitry Bivol wants to run it back with Artur Beterbiev and seeks as much support as possible to make it happen. The ring has confirmed that Bivol's team has filed a request for an immediate rematch with all four sanctioning bodies. The basis for the appeal is the majority belief that the previously long-reigning WBA light heavyweight champion deserved the nod on their October 12th Ring Undisputed Championship in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Beterbiev won their fight via a majority decision. The unofficial take amongst most observers was that Bivol did enough to fully unify the division. However, he failed to win on any of the three judges' scorecards: 114-114 even, 115-113, and 116-112 for Beterbiev. With the win, Beterbiev was crowned Ring Magazine and WBA champion. He retained his lineal WBC, IBF, and WBO crowns. In total, he gained recognition as the sport's first undisputed light heavyweight champion since Joy Rones Jr. abdicated the throne in 2002.
22 years ago.
Among those who saw Bivol prevail was event organizer Turki El Al-Sheikh, chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority. This was one of the great fights of the last 20 years, I think. El Al-Sheikh told Stomping Grounds Charlie Parsons, but I don't think the result was fair. In my opinion, the two fighters are like my brothers, but I think Bivol won 2 rounds more. I will focus and I will try to do the rematch. If they accept, we will do it. Bivol's side has taken the additional step of securing greater reinforcements. His legal team has contacted the heads of all 4 sanctioning bodies according to a letter obtained by the ring. Due to the fact that this fight was quite controversial, we proceeded with a rematch request and protest of the decision with all of the sanctioning bodies. Vadim Kornilov, Bivol's career-long manager, told the ring in a provided quote, "And we are still working on the possibility of a review of the 116 112 scorecard. The latter part is in reference to Judge Powell Cardini, whose 116-112 card was the outlier from public opinion. Kornilov called for a thorough review of his scorecard, though such matters are often dealt with at the sanctioning body's desired deliberate pace. The legal team for Bivol was also involved, and drew parallels to, in a far more controversial decision more than 25 years ago, the near-universal take was that Lennox Lewis did more than enough to defeat Evander Holyfield in their March 1999 undisputed heavyweight championship. The towering Brit was forced to settle for an unpopular split decision draw at Madison Square Garden in New York City. It produced the unanimous verdict amongst all involved, including the sanctioning bodies, that a rematch had to happen next. That was the exact course of action where Lewis edged Holyfield 8 months later in Vegas. The result of that bout was amongst the most controversial in history, with a highly disputed draw, argued attorney Pat English, who represents all of Kornilov's clients and is also the longtime attorney for main events. Boxing fans demanded a rematch. The fighters wanted a rematch. I filed an appropriate petition with the ratings organizations for a rematch. Today I make this petition on behalf of Dmitry Bivol. The circumstances are similar to Holyfield Lewis. Dmitry Bivol, then WBA champion, fought Artur Beterbiev last Saturday night. Bivol held the WBA and IBO light heavyweight titles, while Beterbiev held the IBF, WBC, and WBO. The result was a hotly disputed majority decision, which Beterbiev won on the cards. To say that the decision was hotly contested is an understatement. The complaint included multiple press clippings from publications who had Bivol ahead. It also cited the public statements made by promoters Eddie Hearn, Bivol's promoter, and Frank Warren, who believed Bivol won. Hearn took it a step further and declared that everything that Bivol had worked for as a titleist for 7 years was ripped away from him by judging incompetence.
Don't get lost in the word salad, the word sandwich.
They're just covering all the bases. All the involved parties seem to want to do a rematch. That includes Artur Beterbiev, Turkey El Sheikh.
The one who paid for it.
He'll pay for another one. And no other fight like this fight for Artur Beterbiev is as big or pays as well.
Even if he doesn't strike you as the kind of guy who wants to buy Bugattis and Ferraris and big mansions, even if he doesn't seem that concerned with money, his team likely is.
I think the rematch happens. It's the most sensible and sensical fight for both parties. This stuff about petition and sanctioning bodies, that's just them covering all the bases.
Even if they hadn't done this, I think a rematch would happen.
So don't read too much into it.